G'day, Andy from Single Malt. How you going? Well, today it's pretty exciting. We're going to do our first ever Bruichladdich. This is the one distillery on Islay, traditional distillery on Islay, that we haven't done a whisky of. It's checkered history. It was originally built in 1881. It was envisaged to be this wonderful distillery making the purest spirit on all of Islay. And it did a great job. They built very tall, thin stills rather than the big fat stills like you see at Lagavulin. And these were designed to give the cleanest and sharpest cut of spirit. And by that we refer to the fewest feints and foreshots, so the least amount of undesirable flavours that you can get. So it carried on the tradition of producing highly distilled, very pure whiskies, but changed hands a number of times. I think about 6 or 7 times, until finally it was mothballed in the middle of the 90s and sat dormant for a very long time. In 2000, a group of investors headed by Mark Rainier bought up the disused Bruichladdich distillery and went about recreating the Bruichladdich of old, making those the purest of the pure spirits. And 10 years later, they finally have the first age statemented whisky, 10-year-old Bruichladdich, or the Laddie 10. Over the years, they've released all sorts of non-age statement whiskies to keep the cash flow going, and I've done a really good job as well, really trialing and experimenting and prodding at the norms and the conformity of single malt whiskey. And some of the whiskies that I have tried have been spectacular, but I've been looking forward to this one. We're not nearly as much as the boys at Bruichladdich, but we've been eagerly waiting in the wings for an opportunity to taste it. The great irony of all this is that finally the Bruichladdich boys get their flagship release, their 10-year flagship that Bruichladdich will build its reputation on into the future. But the consortium sold out very recently to a company called Remy Cointreau. So they've inherited, or I guess they've paid for all of that risk and hard work that the Bruichladdich boys did. But fair credit to them. I hope they made some money, and I believe that the Remy Cointreau management team will continue the traditions of Bruichladdich. So let's have a look at this little beauty. Now it says it's aged in American oak. Yeah, American oak. But I don't believe it. I've actually done a bit of research into this, and I've discovered that they have used a little bit of sherry butts. About 10% of the must has been aged in sherry butts, which is a good combination. They've been a little bit sneaky, not telling people. And the sherry butts are the Pedro Ximénez ones, which are the very fruity, very strongly flavoured. If you've had the Pedro Ximénez whiskies, then you'll understand that they tend to be very intense, with lots of rich fruit cake and sultanas and dried fruits, prunes and plums, and lots of yummy flavours. So there's just a touch of that in here, and it'll be interesting to see how it comes through. Oh, I've really got to go looking for it on the nose. It's there, but it's just so slight. Really, the nose is driven by the smokiness, predominantly from those charred American oak barrels. There's some fruit from the fresh young spirit too. So you get things like apricot and some maybe peaches. Oh, it's really nice actually. The fresh fruit is really coming through. It's only 10 years old, so it's not dominated by the oak yet. Still, a lot of that raw spirit flavour is still coming through. And it's really present on the nose. A lot of the older whiskies, 15, 18 plus whiskies, tend to be really dominated by the oak. And it's great if they've had great oak treatment. If the oak treatment is in second fill barrels, they can go a little bit stale. But this has been treated in very, very good oak, first fill bourbon barrels, and the little wincy bit of Pedro Ximénez, as we mentioned. And that lovely, relatively young spirit, only 10 years. So a really good balance, very vibrant whiskey. Stunning. Oh, yum. Wow. Yeah, you really get that lovely intensity of that young, youthful spirit coming through. Oh, the spice and the vanilla are all there in great intensity, and then this wave of the vanilla and the cream caramel from the American oak barrels, and then just underneath that is just a touch of like a sultana, kind of a Christmas cakey flavour, which would make sense. That's the Pedro putting its head up, and then at the end, is the most curious thing. It's freshly shucked oyster, or the sea. It's a salty sea spray, and it's just there in just a hint right at the end. Oh, and it's just the most delightful finish. Wow, what a whiskey. Brimming with intensity, a real delight, a very enjoyable dram, and yeah, please, well done to the boys at Bruichladdich. Please do yourself a favour, and I sound like Molly Meldrum. I should be wearing a stupid hat. But give this one a go. It's a delightful dram, and I really hope you enjoy it as much as I do, because it's crack-a-lackin'. Stunning.